Five tapes, LA, 10 pennies, 7 and 7. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. California, bringing back that old school sound. We're drinking 7 and 7 all night. Reaching heaven, watching come here down. Yeah.
Hey, Mikey.
What's going on, Lou?
How you doing, buddy?
Happy Monday, bro.
Happy Monday. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. I had a killer Monday. Crazy busy, but like just knocking things out, and I'm feeling good, feeling the flow, ready to ride right into the show.
I am too, man. I'm very prepared. Like it's like I felt like I was almost like, do I have everything ready to go? And the answer is yes.
Are you
yeah,
all
we
right?
do. Yeah, no, I feel good.
Feeling
great.
too prepared?
Maybe too prepared.
enough.
Before we get started, I want to say hey to everyone in the chat. First of all, thank you for being here. Welcome back. Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Live, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UAPs and UFOs. Today is Paranormal Day. Did you know it's National Paranormal Day, Michael?
It is not.
It is. It is.
That's fantastic.
Hashtag Paranormal Day.
Hashtag Paranormal Day.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit with Cristina Gomez. We're also going to be talking about Harry Reid. We're going to be talking about our new schedule. We're going to be talking about shows coming up. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got UFO Dad here, Graeme Rendall. Hope I got that right. I have a feeling like I messed that last name up. Did I mess that up, Michael?
It's Graeme Rendall.
Rendall.
That's what we know. That's
Yep,
what we
okay.
know.
He's giving us a thumbs up in the back. So Graeme Rendall. I call him Graeme. That's my little pet name for him. I want to say hey to Theo. I want to say hey to Alien Girl. Thank you guys for being here. Debbie, you look like a new person. Welcome. Ethereal Aura. Welcome. Hairless Primates. Explore Lab, he's watching in France. Welcome, my good sir. We're going to talk about ways to... Oh, man, there's so much to talk about. All right. Citizen Witness. What is going on, guys? Rear EV. I'm so glad you guys are here. Bill Mackey. Man, there's a lot of people in the chat. This is killer. Absolutely killer. Eduardo, Moose1911. I love it. Okay, so welcome, you guys.
Get to a t-shirt. What was that?
Wait, what?
We don't have any t-shirts. We need t-shirts.
Oh, Lewis, you need to... yeah, look, it's coming. It's coming. Baby steps. We're going to talk about all of that today. There's a lot of stuff coming, so we're all going to discuss it a little bit today. So I'm glad everyone is here. Michael?
And, you know, my favorite thing about this community is that they just keep bringing these phenomenal ideas to make the show better and better and better every week. So that's what I love about this more than anything. Like having people in the chat live who actually are here because they love this topic, they love to talk about it, they love to kick back and be a part of the discussion is the coolest thing. Who was that?
Nope. He just popped in. Jazz just popped in. We haven't introduced anybody yet, so I want to make sure we get everybody's their introductions before we bring them on. But yeah, we do have a little cameo from the old Jazz Shaw today. All right, so let's go ahead and just introduce everybody's here. I'll go ahead and get the first one out of the way because he's the easiest. Calling in from Utah, from the basement, the ever popular, the most demanded UFO Dad. Pop, how you doing? He's muted. Dad, I mean, every time you come on the show, you were just talking to us 5 seconds ago. What did you change between now and then? He's totally muted. He's totally muted. Pop, is your mic on?
I love it so much.
Oh my God!
For somebody who looks so slick, you know what I'm saying? Like he literally looks like he's walking out of the Matrix. Like this guy, and then just
you gotta love UFO Dad. Look at this. I mean, I don't know what happened. It was fine a second ago. Okay, we'll let him figure it out. Up next, we have a lady that's near and dear to my heart. She's popping up on the show all the time, and I love it because she's super smart, and I love her perspective. Without further ado, Miss Cristina Gomez. Hello, my lady.
Hi there. What a nice
Hey.
intro. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
you.
Hey, do you want to introduce the next person?
Me? No. You can do it.
No. You can, dude. There is. I can't throw anything on the spot to Cristina because she's always like, nope, sorry. Go to somebody else. Let me think of it because she's so introspective. But I love it. All right. You wanted to introduce the next two, Michael?
Sure. Coming up next is I don't know if infamous is right, but I think that y'all gonna love this guest because he is hailing from across the pond, Graeme Rendall.
Hey, Graeme Rendall.
Good evening, everybody. Happy National Paranormal Day.
Happy National Paranormal Day. I'm so happy to have you here. All right, let's. I'm gonna, Michael, please introduce the next guest. I'm gonna resend the link to my dad because it wouldn't be a show if we didn't.
So very few people really have not only the wit, but the professional skill to back it up. The Jazz Shaw.
Woo! Hold on, Jazz Shaw. Welcome.
Jazz Shaw. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Now he's pretending like he's muted. That's like I listen. From you, I expect professionalism because you're always calling me out on my lack of professionalism. So I don't expect you to show up with no mic, sir. Okay, so I sent another link to my dad. Hopefully he'll figure it out.
You know what? I'm your dad's age. I'm older than your dad, I'm pretty sure. So, we all have those moments.
No, for sure. It happens. Look, it's a live show, but it's just hilarious that it's always him. All right, here we go. He popped back in. Hello, Dad.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. All right.
Okay, good.
UFO Dad is finally in the stream.
You know what's going on? I have to plug this in to the monitor because unfortunately these new Macs, they don't have a lot of input jacks.
Yeah.
That's a major flaw with this particular thing. But anyway,
well, Pop, you should probably write an email to Apple.
Ready to roll.
Yeah, no, Dad, we're live. We're definitely rolling.
I would love to see UFO Dad do like reviews on technical equipment and just all of the flaws that keep people.
I should co-host that show with Dad because I come on the show and half the time it's a question of whether or not I remembered to turn on my headset. So,
this thing turns on the second that you plug it in, so everything is turned on. But I had to adjust the volume on these because when you plug it into the monitor, it's like my head's gonna blow up here in a minute.
All right,
but it's fine now. Everything is squared away.
Good. I'm glad we got it figured out.
I'm not sure if I even need to be here. I think UFO Dad has all of, he's got it all covered.
Honestly, we can all leave.
Just bow out right now.
We can all leave and just leave him up here by himself, and it would be 4 hours of pure gold. Okay. So I wanted to say hi to Max. He's watching over in the Netherlands right now. What's up, Mr. Moskovich? I was on his show today, so check out his channel. We had a pretty cool discussion about the I forget the name because it's a Dutch pronunciation. But no, it was like basically the Rendlesham of that area, and
yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
it was really, really cool case.
I'm working on an article about that actually for the debrief.
Well, you should hook up with Max.
No, Max has been helping me with that.
Oh, perfect.
And he's been sending me a bunch of information. So
yeah, no, he's the man. So welcome, Max. Thank you for being here, guys. If you want to get, first of all, Patreon. In the link, right? Check out my Linktree, Mike's Linktree, Christina's link, Dad's link, Jazz's link, Graham's link. Everyone's link is in the description below. We have a Patreon. You're more than welcome to send a super chat if you have a dying question that you want answered, just in case we don't get to it. So now that is all out of the way, let's get on with today's show. So first thing out of the bat that I wanted to talk about, and I'm glad that Graeme's here, is the comments from Senator Reid and sort of the last 3 days of media that's been happening around these comments. And one in particular that I found a little troubling, and I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because I think it's good to see an article like this, because you can kind of know what to look for when you start reading about these things going forward, because there's going to be a lot of information coming. So, this is a good way to, again, just keep an eye out for the things that you shouldn't take totally to the bank. So let's start with it. So the article I'm referring to is this article here. And it was on the front page of Yahoo, I think on either Friday or Saturday. It's Friday. So it came out it was Saturday morning. This was on the front page. UFO fragments are likely in Lockheed Martin's possession, says ex-Senator Harry Reid. So right off the bat, it's an incorrect headline. It's close, but it's not totally right. And then it's a very, very, listen, this is the whole article. I can read it for you. Former Senator Harry Reid, once a majority leader in the Democratic Party before his retirement, has claimed that defense contractor Lockheed Martin may have had fragments of a crashed UFO in its possession. Reid, age 81, told the New Yorker that he had never actually seen proof of the remnants, but was rebuffed in his efforts to get Pentagon approval to find them. Reid was a longtime senator from Nevada, the home of military base Area 51, long rumored to house UFOs and possibly even live aliens. And that's about it. It does have another, I think this is a quote. It's a quote from Harry Reid. I was told for decades that Lockheed had some of these retrieved materials. The Democrat told the media outlet, and I tried to get, as I recall, the classified approval by the Pentagon to have me go look at the stuff. They would not approve that. I don't know what all the numbers are, what kind of classification it was, but they wouldn't give it to me. So I guess let's start with Jazz, because Jazz is in the media. Jazz is, familiar with these kinds of stories. Would you forward this story to anyone you know, Jazz, and sort of point at this as, oh, you should check this out because it paints the picture perfectly?
I hit that story offline, not with our network.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was interesting, but actually that's not the first time Harry Reid has said that. Mm-hmm. I've interviewed Harry Reid, and he has said that before, he was looking into things.
Right.
And it was a question that he was interested in. I don't fault the man for asking the question. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, is there something like this going on? He asked a lot of questions that he didn't get answers to, So is that possible? Certainly, we have seen other examples that have been covered, for example, by Tim McMillan at the Debrief. We have found that there have been programs where there was information that was hidden from FOIA access because it was handled as the property of a private company like Bigelow Aerospace, one of the biggest examples. And if it's something the government has possession of, but they don't own it, it's exempt from FOIA. And that's how they kept a number of things out of the public, purview. So those are valid questions, but Harry Reid has frequently admitted he's never seen it. He's never seen anything like that. He's probably seen some things we haven't heard about, maybe videos and things, but no, he doesn't know for sure, but he's heard rumors. We've heard Lou Elizondo talk about these things. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it established? I'm sorry, I'm not at the point where I can say, oh, that's established.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question of both Jazz and then table it for the rest of the group? The headline says
nobody likes you, Mike. I'm not going to answer your question. Go ahead.
He's out.
So my question is, so the headline says, and this is something in journalism that you have to be very careful of, right? Because, you know, we think about these things all the time, and what is clickbait and what is legitimate when it comes to prefacing your story. And so my question is, if the headline is on Yahoo, UFO fragments are likely in Lockheed Martin's possession, says ex-Senator Harry Reid, are they not putting words in his mouth? Is this not clickbait?
They are putting words in his mouth. Harry Reid has been very specific, saying, no, I never saw the materials. No, I never got confirmation that those materials exist. But I did talk to people who thought that was very likely. Can we honestly say it's not very likely if it's Lockheed Martin? I mean, so, but again, it doesn't really move the ball very far down the field. But I don't think we also discredit Senator Harry Reid, you know, for saying that. He's had conversations with people. He's been very upfront about all these things, you know, and it's like that's something I was interested. I asked. I was the Senate Majority Leader. I asked about it, so I was interested. That makes it interesting. Did you get it? No, I didn't get it. You know, so no, we don't know yet.
Graeme, what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, we're used in the UK to the headlines not exactly matching up with the story. I mean, so you know, it's nothing new here. I mean, in terms of this particular story, I mean, the New Yorker article, which is referenced also in the Yahoo piece, obviously, albeit much further down the article, you've actually got to go right down to find the quote. I mean, Harry Reid actually says, and I'll just read it out. He says that he's been told for years that you know, the Lockheed Martin had the debris. He doesn't say that he believes that. He just says he's been told that they have it, or they may have it, and that's not the same thing. But that's what the headline says. And then, of course, then the headline starts going, you know, viral around the world. So you get, I mean, I can pick some more up here. So you've got where, you know, they say the Sun and the Star have come out with the same thing, saying that Harry Reid have said that you know, that they have, Lockheed Martin has crashed debris, which is again not the case. It's just he's being told that, but he's not saying that. So you can also go back to the 2017 article that Keane did and Blumenthal, and wasn't there a retraction in that as well, because there was some details that were slightly wrong. And Jazz, can you remember that? I can't quite remember the exact details.
I don't remember the exact details either, Graeme, but there were some retractions from that.
Because
there was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but he definitely came back to them to say that's what you've got there is wrong. So I wonder if he's going to do the same with this, because he was pretty quick off the mark, I think, last time round when he'd been misrepresented. So I just wonder whether that'll happen here. But I mean, it's not much of a difference, but you know, to us, it's quite a big difference.
It's a significant difference.
Yeah, exactly. Because but that's the only thing that people will read if they're not, you know, from your phrase, normies. Jazz, you know, if they're looking, because they do actually look at just the headline a lot of the time. Sometimes these, especially in our countries, a couple of the papers are behind paywalls, so you get to see the first paragraph or the first couple of lines, or sometimes just the headline. And that's all that people go away with. They don't necessarily scroll right down to the end of an article to read all of it and get all the nuances and all the rest of it. They'll pick and choose just the headline, the top couple of paragraphs, and that's it. They get the first advert, and that's it. They go on the next bit of clickbait. So really,
it's clickbait, like you said, Graeme. And most of our industry that we work in, I'm sorry to say, it runs on clickbait, because if you don't draw a lot of eyeballs, then you don't draw the advertising revenue and all that. So explosive headlines make money for people, but then you go and read into the details like the 6 people on this panel do. Then you have to go down and look and say, well, there could be something interesting here, but that really wasn't what was presented.
And I think that's why shows like this matter so much, because we can actually dig into this and share that with folks. So, you know, Seth says over here in the comments, like, how do we get this out in front of more people? Well, you do that by sharing the show, number one, and don't force us to rely on clickbait. But when it comes down to how we deal with this subject, I have a question for you guys further when it comes to clickbait, because we know, as you said, Jazz, the entire media industry is compelled to create the meatiest headlines possible in order to get those clicks. And we've left this kind of paper media of the past, and we've entered the digital media age where you have to get eyeballs and it's all about the clicks. How do you do both? How do you get eyeballs while telling the truth? Because as a marketer, I know that the truth is the hardest thing to sell. The truth is the most difficult thing to get people to actually click on it and pay for. But we all, every single one of us bitch about clickbaits and headlines and all of this, yet it's like there's no other way to get information out there. So how do can we defeat this thing, or is it just something we have to deal with moving forward?
Well, Christine does a good job of that, and we could ask her. I think what really matters in the end for the audience that you actually want is to get good content, to get reliable content, to get experts. And Christine interviews people. She's running articles and videos all the time where she's digging down into the details. And it's not making anything revolutionary like, oh my God, the aliens just landed in my backyard. It's like, here's the science. Christine, how do you focus on these things?
Well, the biggest thing is, one, sticking with the facts, getting rid of all of your opinion. But then when you already have your articles, already have your video, then it's up to SEO, viral marketing, and web marketing from there. Because things that look attractive, even if the headlines are big or small, but if you have the right colors, if you have the right SEO, I think that will also really push your content forward for people to click on and enjoy.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there any way to incentivize the media to get away from the profit-based margins? I
guess
Sorry.
maybe.
I know.
like
I guess
it's
it's a stupid question, but I mean, based off of the laughs that I'm getting right now. But I mean, is there a way? I guess. Well, here's the question. I guess maybe let me ask the question a different way. Is there a way for our government to step in and provide maybe a subsidy to make up for those profits, so that way they don't have to worry about profits, they can worry about the truth?
The balance is, especially in a democratic capitalistic society, I mean, you don't really want state media, right? So there's this challenge about separating the media from the government while simultaneously having the government enforce fair doctrines. What was the old doctrine called? It was called the Fairness Doctrine for the media, which was, I think, Ronald Reagan put that in place years ago, but it doesn't apply to cable news. It doesn't apply to, I don't even think that's, Jez, do you know what happened to the Fairness Doctrine?
Well, yeah, but I think that's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down right now. I'm sitting here right now and looking at UFO Dad, and I see the look on his face. So let me ask you, UFO Dad, because I think you and I come from close to the same generation. Mm-hmm. If someone came up to you and said, we don't think we're getting enough truth and we need more openness, perhaps we could assign the government to go and provide some incentive to make sure the government was telling us more of the truth. What do you think? That's a sure winner, right?
That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. People want a clear separation between press and government, church and government. Exactly. I mean, you got to have clear demarcations, separations between these things, because if you don't, then it becomes a real problem, because what you're going to get is based on whoever is there. Whoever is there is not necessarily truth. You talk to people who, they believe that, that the church should be combined with the government and, because it's a Christian nation, whatever, all those arguments. And I always ask them, well, what about tomorrow as the Satanists take over? Are you going to bite into that? Are you going to be okay with, oh, no. And I said, well, it can't be your way or the highway. It's very clear: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness means you choose. So you choose the news that you want to read. You choose how you want to live your life. These things are important because we're a free nation. So you cannot have the government dictate the media, and the government should not be dictating the talking points within the media. And I see a lot of that going on too. Because if you listen to a story, they'll use one of those catchphrases, and everywhere you listen to the news, that catchphrase is common between all the networks. And I don't care which one you listen to, they follow suit. So it all sounds the same, And when you're looking at a newspaper or internet news stories, people have a tendency to read the headlines, and then if they have a real interest in it, they'll read it. If they have the time, they'll read it, but they won't follow through with a complete story. And if there's an error, they're never going to see the redaction, and they're never going to see the correction. So, and with a 24-hour news cycle, I mean, man, it's constant. You turn on at 3:00 in the morning, you're starting to get all the stuff that's going on in India, and then some of that stuff, because there's nothing going on here. Then in the morning it changes because it's all U.S. stuff, and then they'll put the India stuff in spurts. You know what I'm saying? So it's never a complete picture. In my view, it's just you never get the whole enchilada unless you chase that enchilada all the way through. And at times that's difficult because you may see one article, but you may not see that article again. You know what I'm saying?
Now I want an enchilada.
Yeah. And it's the media dictating the government. I mean, that's what I see mostly. That's so much power there. And sadly, so much hype, smoke, and mirrors are happening.
Bring this story back. Yeah, bring the story back to the headlines there. The Sun actually, how would you know if there was an error in the story if you weren't invested in the subject to start with? I mean, we've got the benefit of the knowledge about what's been going on, but if you've got somebody who's just like Joe Public queuing up and reading the headline and then reading the story, even if they do read it all the way through, they don't necessarily have the entire knowledge of the subject to be able to work out, oh no, say that's wrong, so.
Well, especially when it's a 1 minute read, it's a 1 minute. How do you get nuance in a 1 minute read? But let me ask you this, Jazz. I mean, wasn't it Rupert Murdoch who during the first or the second Bush administrations, I can't remember the name of the piece of legislation, but it was something had to do with the news wasn't allowed to be opinionated. And Rupert Murdoch had a hand in changing that legislation. So now we've got a Fox News who calls themselves news, but really they're just an opinion station. And really, I think a lot of them kind of follow that model. And when you go to, say, Canada, you just go north of the border and you watch their 24-hour news, it's way more subdued. It's not as sensationalized. It's not as sexy. It's 24 hours and it's clean. It looks good. But to me, it seems like the news is delivered in a much more calm, monotone fashion, kind of like how I remember when I first remember news being on television with a Walter Cronkite or any one of these journalists that people grew up with. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember the suggested legislation, which did not pass because it's impossible to word anything in legislation to regulate how opinions are structured as opposed to how facts are stated. There was a time, and I'm older than I think everybody here except, I'm older than UFO Dad too.
I don't know about that.
There was a time when there were news stations that focused on the who, what, where, when, why, how, and why was generally the lowest one on the totem pole. It was just reporting the news. Some networks followed that pattern, the Associated Press, until the last 6-7 years when they started really changing their style guides. Yeah. They tried to stick to that, but it's changed a lot. And I agree with you, Americans have a perception that places, particularly like Canada, it's like, well, if you go watch the news in Canada, you just get the news. Well, I'm tasked to cover the news in Canada. Mm-hmm. And they do a lot more who, what, where, when, why. Mm-hmm. But they have their own spin, and they tend to lean. I'm not saying this as a pejorative. It's a very much more socialist nation in terms of, government solves your problems. You put your trust in government, that sort of thing. And they have a very big public health care system, for example, things like that. And so it does take that bend in that direction. We deal with other countries that have a much more capitalist, or rugged individualism, centrist, type approach. And they're like, well, less government involvement, less government, banging on you and telling you what to do. So I do think there's a spectrum of that. And America is still somewhat near the middle of that. And we have a debate that goes on. But our debate, particularly when we get into things like government secrecy, UAP secrecy, it's like, do you want big government to just make all your decisions and tell you what you need to know? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to go be able to bang on their doors and hammer your manifesto onto the door of the temple and say, tell us what you have? Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the debate that UFO Dad was just talking about.
No, that's the way it should be. I mean, the government should be transparent. Well, what these guys seem to forget, is that they work for us. We don't work for them. The Constitution was written to protect us against them. It's not the other way around. And they got this all backwards now. You know what I'm saying? So it's highly political, highly charged. And I've always told people that the worst kind of evil is the one that you don't know about. And you know what makes that happen? Censorship. When you censor, there are things that you're not going to learn about that can come back and hurt you. Because evil likes to be hidden.
That at the same time, and everybody knows where I come from. I'm more of a strict constitutionalist, and people consider me a conservative in some areas, not all areas, or at least a libertarian. But I'm sure these guys would agree. There are also areas where the government does protect you.
Right.
There's areas where you need the government. We have law enforcement to stop criminals from killing us. We have investigative forces to stop people from taking advantage of us and holding the guilty accountable. So it's always a balancing act, don't you think, Michael?
Yeah, and I just wanted to broaden the scope of the conversation a little bit because I really appreciate what you guys are both bringing up. And I think it's important to remember that the First Amendment, freedom of speech in the United States, is not something that Canadians have. It's not something that they have in the UK either. They don't have those in their constitution. And remember also that the First Amendment was originally created specifically for the freedom of the press, not necessarily individuals' freedom of speech. It was so that news organizations did not require a license from the government to produce news, to speak to the people. You had a freedom. Journalism was free, and that was the original intent as held up by the Supreme Court of the First Amendment. And then it wasn't until 1949, we're talking 150 years later, that the Fairness Doctrine was passed in the United States, which was intended to hold news media accountable to what they were saying. And it wasn't until way later, and I think it was 1985, that was actually repealed, so that and that was what led to the rise of talk radio. That's what led to the rise
that was the legislation I was talking about, was that piece right there. And that was orchestrated by Rupert. Like, he was the guy who was in the White House who convinced the White House, we need to get rid of this, because he saw the rise of talk radio. He saw the rise of Fox Media. I mean,
here.
Yeah.
This right here. We would be getting sued for every opinion we shared had the Fairness Doctrine not been repealed. So there is this really interesting balance between what the government should control and what the government should not control. And to Jazz's point, we're in a constant tug of war every single day regarding this matter.
Can you guys put me backstage for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. Jazz!
That's never gonna get old, is it?
Well, no, it'll never get old. So there was it'll never ever get old. I live for it. So there was a question. Oh, I saw Ryan Sprague in the chat. I'm so happy he's here, dude. You give me light in my life. I love this discussion, Luis and Mike. You should go to Clayton Morris on. He worked for Fox for a really long time and fought tooth and nail to get UFO coverage. Clayton Morris. That definitely sounds familiar. Michael, is that right?
I have no idea who that is, but let's get him on.
Let's get him on. Let's get him. Mike, hook it up, Sprague. There was a question by Explorer Lab, Baptiste. I can't find it because I had to back out. But it was something along the lines of Jacques Vallée has had materials that he's been looking at for years, and he's shared the sort of the findings of these metamaterials, these metals. Graeme, you probably have a little bit more context on the Jacques Vallée aspect of this. I mean, how do you feel about the metals that he's produced?
Well, we're just waiting for the results to come out, aren't we? I don't think we know anything at the moment. There's a book that's also he's supposed to have being released in the next day or two, but from what I see on social media, but now it's been pulled. So there may be a reason why that's happened. Who knows what's going on in the background? I think we'll be the last to know on that. I wouldn't even like to kind of prejudice what's going to be announced because I have no idea. I've got no insight. I don't know anybody who does either. And what's in the book is anybody's guess. I know that's probably not what you might want to hear here, but I don't think anybody actually knows at this moment. He's keeping his cards very close to his chest, and also the scientists probably as well, with good reason. If you were investigating something which was quite a hot potato, in terms of content and ramifications, etc., whether it becomes, yes, it's alien materials, or whether no, it's just something very, very mundane, you still wouldn't want people to know until you'd gone through all the tests, cross the T's, dotted the I's, and all the rest of it before you announce what you're going to find, because you know full well that people will pull it all apart if you have any kind of preliminary announcement, just like they do when they release videos of suspected UFOs. So, yeah. I don't think there'll be anything comes out of that yet until they're ready to announce that.
I think the most he gave was on Rogan's podcast, and on Rogan's podcast he had mentioned something about the metals and the way that they were formed was too early for the time period in which they were pulled. In other words, like, we didn't have the chemistry or the know-how on how to fuse these metals together to make a stronger, more productive, lighter metal, and that the isotopes of this metal is what sort of proves that.
Yeah, that's true. But we still have to wait for the information to see what backs up that statement. Because again, that's a preliminary finding. They haven't gone through all the testing process, as far as I'm aware, when that statement was made. Yeah. So,
and they've had these materials. Jacques Vallée's had them for a long time now. No.
Well, you'd think so, but there's also other people who've come out the woodwork for other materials. Linda Moulton Howe, I believe, has mentioned things before about materials. I'm sure I've heard her being interviewed.
I think she sold materials to the government.
That's the bit I remember.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was talking about the way things have been laid down as well. I'm sure I remember hearing her say that, and about particular types of materials. But then again, you hear nothing again afterwards. So it's a case of, okay, what am I missing here? What information do they have? Why are they not sort of just putting it somewhere and saying, right, you look at it, come back when you found out everything you can about it, rather than releasing all these little piecemeal statements about, oh, this doesn't look right, oh, that might be from years ago. Really, just let the experts do it. Vallée, for all he's well regarded in the UFO community, he's not a scientist in terms of looking at metamaterials, as far as I'm aware. Linda Moulton Howe definitely isn't. So let the experts do the looking and the actual talking afterwards.
Yeah,
and then we can all chip in.
Ryan, get your beautiful butt in here if you got the time, dude. Don't, even if it's only for a couple minutes. But Ryan Sprague saying that Little Moulton Howe's materials went to TTSA and now the Army has it under the CRADA agreement, which was an agreement between TTSA and the United States government. Basically, the government went to Tom DeLonge and was like, hey, we'll give you money, we'll give you a lab, we'll give you research and development tools, and guess what? You don't have to pay us back. But the deal is, you have to give us those materials. Whatever you find out of those materials, we get dibs on first. And then nothing was ever said again. That was like one of
the dumbest thing ever. If you're trying to get secrets out of the government, to turn around and go
and give them right back to it.
Oh, by the way, we've got the only possibly, UFO materials on the planet. Would you go examine these, for us? And they're like, well, yes, here's a big check and we're going to sign a big agreement. Thanks. And then they ghost you. I've never understood that agreement. I've never understood it. I'm not trying to say Tom DeLonge is, made a bad. All right, I'm probably saying
that.
I'm
like, yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
You're close. You're close.
If they actually had something, and there's been some news reports just this week. I know you guys all saw the reports. There was a couple of videos that came out, about, oh, here's these materials that people had before, and maybe we made them because we were back engineering something, or we found something, or maybe just somebody really clever came up with it. You don't know. But you hand it over to the government, and then it disappears. Yeah. We've all been dealing with Susan Goff for quite a while. These are people who are experts at controlling the flow of information. And I don't know. I do not hate TTSA. I'm not one of those people. I love the work they did. Obviously, everything Lou Elizondo did.
Yeah.
But if they turn something over to the Army that might have been unique and one of a kind, I don't know what to say to you, dude. It's like you're playing chess and you're starting by tipping over your king.
Right.
I think we should play a new drinking game. And every time Jazz brings up Susan Goff, everyone has to drink.
We'll all be wasted by the end of the show.
I'm sorry, I have a long relationship with Susan, and she's a wonderful person.
So Ryan Sprague wrote he wrote once that the government seems to always gets its hands on these materials. Mm-hmm. It always finds its way back to the government. And then the other thing he said is that the materials I had tested from Roswell was confiscated by the Bureau of Land Management because it was found on government land. Updates on that crazy story I can share soon. Keep close to Ryan Sprague. All right, you guys. I think I have Ryan Sprague's stuff in the description below. If I don't, I'll put it in there. But yeah, dude, he's always doing really good work. But yeah, I agree, Jazz. Like, why the hell would you make an agreement with the government to study these metals? They're in your hands. Why do you need their? I just feel like you could have done for a couple of $1,000. You could have studied those metals at a university and run those tests without having the government ever touching them.
Yeah, it makes you wonder.
The explanation that was given. If I don't interrupt you, Michael.
No, go ahead.
But the stuff that Susan Moulton Howe had, the claim that was being made was that, well, one of the many claims was that it could levitate if you hit it with the right frequency. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the exact numbers right in front of me, but anybody that wants to go, fact check me on this, feel free. But you needed a transmitter, and I used to be a radar guy, that would hit it with such a high frequency at such a high power to produce this result that there are like 3 labs in the world at the time that had the equipment that could produce that sort of an effect. And the Army was like, well, we got one of those 3. And that was the explanation that was given. And it could be true. You would have to hit it with such a blast of something that we barely figured out how to produce to get it to do whatever miraculous thing it was supposed to be able to do. And I could see where that would be a compelling argument for the government to make. And somebody would say, well, we've tried 13 different... Linda Moulton Howe sold it to get the money back that she spent at laboratories that did not have the equipment capable of producing that sort of an effect, because it required such a huge investment of energy. And she sold it off, and they were like, oh, well, the Army's got this equipment. Let's let you try that. And the Army was like, well, we'll certainly try that. And they everybody saw it again.
It's like a Marx movie with the cigar. Ah, yeah, I'll give it to you later. Sure.
Yeah,
give me the medals, kid. Give me the medals, and I'll give you the test results. Yeah.
So I'm not saying the material wasn't remarkable, and that with the right equipment you couldn't do it, but there was almost nobody on the planet that had the money to produce the equipment to actually try to produce the effect. So I'm sympathetic to the people that made those decisions. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I brought up the article, the reason why I wanted to talk to you about it with you guys, and the reason why I wanted to make our audience aware was because these are first of all, I guess there's a question with this too. Is this article, and I'm going to get to Max's question because it's sort of a change of sort of what we're talking about. So that's why I haven't asked it yet, Max, but I see the question. Is this article good or bad for this discussion going forward?
It's a great question.
Anyone?
Okay, I'll throw in 2 cents. One is it creates more interest in the subject, and even if people are just headline skimmers, which most people are, it will pique their interest. They might not even click, but it might seed in their mind that this is something of interest to go back to. But the problem is that it's a false narrative. So you're piquing people's interest, but you're also giving them a false narrative at the same time. And if something comes back which refutes that, then it's going to be that much easier to bury any other story that comes out. So I think it's a dangerous, it's dangerous to use that as something that will help, get more people interested and involved in this conversation when it could come back and bite you later. So I don't know. It's a coin toss for me.
Yeah. Graeme?
I agree. If you're going to get people interested, you've got to start somewhere. And the more kind of niche shows, like this one, you don't probably reach a worldwide audience in terms of...
What are you talking about? We have 76 people in this room right now.
Well, that's worldwide. In terms of the newspapers, huge. In terms of the reach of the newspapers, let's say, both in your country and ours, if you've got that kind of coverage, that's great, but we don't, you don't, we don't, UFO magazines, kind of groups everywhere, we don't have that kind of coverage. So therefore, these news articles are going to reach the people, and they're going to misinform them, but it's better than not being informed at all. The BBC haven't covered this story or the pyramids as far as I'm concerned. So there's nothing for the normal people in our country unless they pick up one of the red tops, one of the tabloids. And okay, they're only getting half the story and they're getting the wrong end of the story, but at least they're getting the story. And then it's behoving on the rest of us to actually come along and try and educate them afterwards. If they get a little kind of hook, then they might start seeing other, looking at podcasts, looking at channels like yours, looking for more information, and that's when they get informed.
Right.
The story that we're talking about here, that's just the hook to get them interested, and that's better than nothing.
Is there not a double-edged sword there, though?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Cristina about this. You cover the science stuff all the time. Is there a danger in trying to feed a lot of science, which is required to understand questions like these, to a public that is used to just getting headlines and doesn't have the background to say, oh, well, that makes sense or that doesn't make sense, because, they're not astrophysicists or astrobiologists or all these things. How much of a problem, Christine, do you think it is to make this sort of information digestible to the public that has to weigh in on these questions?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would say young people are freshly studying science, and as long as you use layman language, right, it should be easy to comprehend. And to go back to what Michael said, I completely agree. It starts a conversation and it sparks debate, and it gets new minds and new ideas on the topic at large. Young people, my generation, tech-savvy people, kids, and the inquisitive minds, such articles are going to have an going to have an effect of wanting to know more and to dig deeper. So even though these are kind of like clickbait headlines or whatever kind of headlines they are, like Michael said, it's planting a seed in the mind. And then from there, they can decide if they want to do more research. But like a quote that Steve Jobs said was, people don't know what they want until you show them what they want.
Right. That's a great
bingo.
It's a great quote. And
Good
also,
point.
by the way, you can catch Dig Deeper on, go ahead, plug it, Cristina. She's got a show called Dig Deeper.
Yeah, it's called Debrief, Dig Deeper on the Debrief YouTube.
And there you go. There you go. And by the way, her link is in the description below. Pop, do you have any thoughts on good or bad this article?
I think well, the article, it's got to get attention. It's what Cristina was saying, get people talking. That's really important. The science aspect, sometimes I have to laugh because, I say, remember the sleep paralysis thing, and I'm like, where do they get this stuff from? That's not going to happen that way. It's impossible.
Dad, what's that in reference to? I don't know what
That's
you're talking about.
remember the sphere on Elizondo's show. I forget what number it was on the last one.
Okay.
The two guys that were driving.
Oh, yeah,
and they saw this sphere.
Yes.
And the cool thing about that particular story is that this is one of those cases where you get the people that were there talking about it, and that information
hold on,
is
Pop.
priceless.
Yeah, no, the guys who were involved in that story did not talk about it. That was just one of the stories that they recreated on the show, but it is a damn good story because these guys came across a sphere. They were basically the security team that goes around the military base. They come across this enormous sphere above one of the missiles. They pass out and then wake up a mile and a half, away from where they passed out, and they're behind a dam, and they're still in their truck, and there's no tire marks to where the truck was parked in a muddy field behind a dam. Like it's crazy, but I want to let everybody know, like, those guys did not publicly come out, but it is one of the stories that was in the show.
But in the story, they talk about what these guys were feeling at the time. And one of the things that they felt, that it was harder to breathe. So the density of the air increased. And that tells me a lot about that particular sphere that they saw.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that air was displaced. Okay. They didn't mention temperature, but they did mention the density of the air. And that is like a sudden increase in barometric pressure. Okay. Which means that when you increase the pressure of a gas, the density of the gas increases. If you ever go inside a hyperbaric chamber and they dive you really, really fast, you're going to feel air for the first time in your life as you're breathing it in, because it's so much harder to breathe because it's much denser. And that's what those guys felt over there. Okay. Now, these two guys, they said that they both had sleep paralysis. They didn't have sleep paralysis. Two people can't get sleep paralysis at the same time. It's practically impossible. So sleep paralysis happens during stage 1 sleep, which is when you're falling asleep. And it also can happen as you're exiting REM sleep. So you can't be driving a car or doing any of that stuff in that process. And two people can't have it at the same time, because the odds of that happening are, mathematically, that doesn't, I don't even want to talk about that because that's not possible.
And
but
they were next to a dam. They were next to a dam.
Right. And that kind of information.
What was on the other side of the dam?
Water.
Dolphins.
But that
damn dolphins.
Just saying.
When you hear these anecdotes, the details of the anecdotes sometimes tells you a lot if you're listening. You know what I'm saying? It will tell you a lot from the scientific aspect of what went on just by little things like that. Of that entire story, the part that just boom hit my head and clicked to my ears immediately was the increase. It was harder to breathe because the air was harder to breathe in. That means that they had an increase in the density of air. So that tells me a lot about that thing when it got there.
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to tell Max real quick. Max, do me a favor. Ask this question at the end of the show because Graham's got to get out of here and he wanted to mention something before he goes. Let me answer the question that I put to the group. I agree with all of you. I think that it's a good thing because it's going to get people interested in what's happening. And hopefully they're led down the right rabbit hole. But it is a double-edged sword that we're kind of playing with here. The only thing I will say about this article is the timing of it. It's at the perfect time because there's a lot of other articles that if somebody saw this and they're like, whoa, there's got to be more, they can go find more because it's super fresh. So that's why I don't have a huge issue with this. If this article dropped 4 weeks ago by itself, I think it would be incredibly damaging. It would just cause a lot of confusion, especially with people that don't know. But with that said, yeah, I just wanted to make people aware. This is the kind of stuff we need to watch out for. And if somebody sends you something like this, just say, hey, that's great. Maybe send them something with a little more info. If you like that, maybe check this out because this has got a little bit more details and that headline's a little misleading. That's kind of the job we're in right now. We're in this transition period where this topic is going from the hardcore fringe or not the hardcore fans of the topic and is now bleeding out into normal, quote unquote, normal society. So it's up to us to catch them up. As frustrating as that is, it's up to us to catch them up on all that stuff. So if you have a friend, if you got somebody that's doing this, point them to the show. Let us help them with that if you're too impatient with it. This is a great place for stuff like this. We're going to be talking about stuff like this all the time because it's important to call these things out when they happen so that way you could recognize them going forward. So with all of that said, we're done with Harry Reid. I think that was a great discussion. Thank you, guys. And let's go, Graeme. You wanted to talk about, I believe it was Roswell, right?
No, it's the Bollinger memo.
The Bollinger memo. Okay, excuse me. Yeah,
so
it's
the memo that basically recommended that Blue Book, the USAF's investigation into UFOs, should be closed down because it wasn't finding anything of value, certainly scientific value. And the memo was dated October 1969, I believe, but it was only discovered in 1979 when Robert Todd actually got it. I think he might have got it through Freedom of Information. I believe that was actually ongoing at that time. And it basically, the Bollinger memo it's so named because a Brigadier General C.H. Bollinger was the person who signed the memo, and it basically goes into the reasons why they should close down Blue Book, and it was still actually going on at that time. So it was because it was costing too much, and they could reassign the resources elsewhere.
I'm sorry, Graeme, not to interrupt you, but
sorry.
How much was Project Blue Book costing?
I don't know, but it probably was done on a shoestring according to the numbers of people I think that were in the program itself. Chaz is nodding his head. Yeah, there was only like a handful of people, I think. There was a major in charge of it, and maybe a couple of airmen, and that was about it. It was on a shoestring. However, the memo is quite famous for the fact that on one hand they're recommending shutting it down and basically closing off the public's avenue to a federal sort of office where UFO sightings can be reported to, but in the same breath, it still mentions the fact that Air Force officers, in the course of their duties, either flying or on the ground, who see UFOs, can still report them if they're matters of national security through, and I just wrote this down so I can remember the actual names, through JANAP 146, which was an Air Force reporting framework, or through the Air Force Manual 55-11. Neither of those were part of Blue Book, and it actually specifically says that in the memo that these cases were through an established Air Force procedure that meant it was outside what everybody else thought was this is the way you report UFOs. Well, so the Air Force actually had their own method, and it was completely outside Blue Book. Well, that actually isn't what I'm sort of getting at here. What I found out today, and this should have occurred to me a little while ago, and I have just sort of dawned on me today, is when I was looking at the memo, it's signed by this Brigadier General C.H. Bollinger, and he was the deputy. He was a deputy director of planning, or some kind of like thing like that for the U.S. Air Force. But actually, in 1944, he was Major Carroll H. Bollinger. He was based in Italy, and he was based with the 414th Night Fighter Squadron. He was actually the commanding officer of the unit. Now, the 414th were flying bow fighters as a night fighter unit, and they were encountering balls of light, all that kind of thing, all the Foo Fighters. The report started in July 1944, but then they tailed off a bit during the end towards the end of that year, and then in January, February, March 1945, those sightings of red balls of fire and Foo Fire, they called them. They're in the squadron records in the war diary. You can look them up if you have the access to the records. And he was still the CO of the unit, so he had actually access to information. He had his own sighting, although he called it reddish fire, and that's in the war diary as well. That happened in February 1945. So at an early stage, even before Roswell and before Kenneth Arnold, Bollinger was actually exposed to strange phenomenon. Now, what he made of it is unclear. I don't think there's anything to suggest that he was either, he believed it, or he thought there were German secret weapons, or there were UFOs, because that wasn't a thing then. But obviously, he was a career officer, and he moved up through the ranks to get to brigadier general. I just wonder what kind of information he was exposed to, if he was exposed to any at all. But at some stage, he became, central to the shutting, or the recommendation that Blue Book was shut down. So he must have had some information given to him to make, for him to make that determination. That information from the memo presumably came from both the Condon report from the University of Colorado, but it also mentions the 1953 Robinson panel as well, which I believe was a CIA organized and inspired effort to actually look into UFOs as well. So I'm not sure what kind of information he received, where you just got a briefing, just saying, "Oh, this is what's happening, sir," or whether he actually had much more information, at his fingertips that led him to that kind of recommendation. So I just wonder what everybody thinks about that.
I mean,
before we go, Lou, I want to tag onto one thing Graeme said, because I know we both have to go, because I'm now hitting the wall for an appointment I have. But out of all the documents we've seen, I did look at one, and I have to go look it up again, that references how many times the word Janet or Janice, and usually Janet, has shown up in so many things. And it includes the names of airline programs that the United States Air Force has used that revolve around Area 51, things like that. That name has been showing up since the 1930s. Janet is a continual name. I realize it was a typical American female name for people to name their children, but it shows up a lot. And a guy had a really interesting analysis that I was reading recently, and Graeme might be interested in that, because that name does keep showing up over and over again. But thank you guys for having me on. I got to run. I know Graeme's got to run. I was really pleased to be here, and I really appreciate the time.
Hey, Jez, we love having you here. The door's always open for you, sir. All right, see you soon.
Thanks, Jazz.
All right.
Take care.
Gotta love that man. Gotta love
Jazz.
that man. So, Sprague, get your ass in here. Get your ass in here. I mean, I don't know how many times I gotta say it, brother. Get in here. We want you in here every day if possible. Like more Sprague. So does anybody have any thoughts on what Graeme was saying there?
I mean, he kind of blew me away. So I'm
that's a lot of information. I'm curious. So he was dealing with Foo Fighters as a serviceman, and then Project Blue Book comes along, and he's the guy who's recommending to get rid of it because it's too expensive.
It wasn't just a case of being expensive. It was more because the memo actually says that they weren't finding anything of scientific value, and so that's in there as well. Yeah. Mr. Sprague?
Mr. Sprague, you got any thoughts on what we're talking about?
That's Janet.
Yeah, Janet.
Yeah,
that's great.
It was, that's probably my accent, because it was actually Janap, so it's JANAP 146.
Janap, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this. Zofa writes, "You guys look like a heist team. You son of a bitch." Right?
Hold on, I gotta edit my name now.
You just added.
Well, I mean, it's. Wait, what's it say? JNAP, nice. Yep. So, Sprague, you got any thoughts on anything that we've talked about, or what Graeme just laid on us?
Yeah, I mean, the Boulder memo and everything has always been really interesting. At first, I thought you were talking about the Pentacle memorandum, Graeme. I covered that on my show not too long ago, which was like literally a, what would you call it? Like a peripheral program running during Blue Book that that Valet didn't even know about. And
Wow.
he happened to find this memo in all of Hynek's notes, and because he went to clean Hynek's office because it was just a mess during Blue Book, like a mess. There was no order to anything. And as he's clearing things out and filing it, he finds this thing, and come to find out, it was connected to Patel, and they were saying like they were about to close Blue Book down. And this group, whatever this Pentacle memorandum thing was, they were like, yo, hold up. We've been also investigating UFOs, and we have not come to the same conclusions as Blue Book. So before you go to the public and say there's nothing to it or you've solved all the cases, we've got hundreds of open cases still. And like nobody knew about this other thing going on. And it goes back to Bollinger, it goes back to Battelle, and it all always leads back to Roswell somehow.
Man,
somewhere.
that's Sprague. That's the first time I've heard of that study.
Yeah, me too.
You just laid it on me. I had no idea. Never heard of. I didn't know there was a mirror program running at the exact same time that nobody else did. That piss off Hynek?
Oh, absolutely. He wasn't exactly sure what it pertained to, but he knew that some of the cases they were giving him at Blue Book, this other group was also looking into, and they were coming up with different conclusions and stuff like that.
Ooh,
so
it's that made him jelly.
Dude, as Hynek, he hired me to do a job,
and then told me what to say. Yeah, but
exactly.
but not only that, they hired him and then told him what to say, and then you find out. Oh, wait a second, you guys are just using me as a puppet. You actually have a real team. I'd like to go check. I'd like to go be on that team. Right?
Yeah.
Damn.
So, Valet, it really blew his mind, and that was what convinced him that there was a legitimate cover-up going on, was that this mirror project was going on during Blue Book. So I'm sure that's what's going on now with the task force. I'm sure it was going on during ATIP. I mean, even Elizondo said there were other programs going on, running in tandem with ATIP. So.
Well, that's funny that you say so. Wow. See, okay, that makes sense because Blue Book was also. I mean, we found out in season 2 of Unidentified that Blue Book was that the structure, the layout of how Blue Book worked was basically given, I think, to was it Argentina,
yes,
or it was Argentina, and basically the Argentinian Air Force has been doing Project Blue Book forever. It's never closed, and they also report their findings to us
in the United States,
and nobody knows about this. So we have a Project Blue Book that's been running for I think 20 plus years. In a completely different country.
More than one, too. I know for a fact that...
Well, if there's one, there has to be more.
Yeah, during the Tehran incident, this information was given to the U.S. There were all these other cases going on over in the Middle East as well that were being reported to different governments and armies. And all of them were ordered to give their information to the United States. So... Again,
this is why we need more Sprague. This is why we need more Sprague. For the love of God.
I'm drunk again too.
And we got drunk Sprague, but he's not. Thank God he's not tweeting. Thank God he's not tweeting. Well, dude, I'm so happy you're here. I had the 2 shows in a row. That's awesome. So
I'm gonna sit back. I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah. What do you guys?
No, please don't sit back.
Graeme, I know you gotta go soon,
I'm gonna
right?
go in a few minutes. I'll just listen to what Ryan had to say.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to leave now that Sprague's here.
I know, right? Dude, we gotta get. Well, listen. On Friday nights, we're gonna get to the schedule in a little bit, you guys, as far as what we're doing for the show, how the show's gonna be working in the future. But Friday nights, I think, and we're gonna run this by Michael, but I think it'd be a good idea to start a little earlier on Friday, so that way we can get guests from the UK, and we actually are having a earlier show this Friday for that exact reason. So I think that might be something that we just stick with.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll talk about it after the show. But Graeme, what are your thoughts? What are your closing thoughts on what either Ryan had to say or anything else really?
There are links around that we have no idea what they are. and we're going to find more of them as we go on, or they're going to be, sort of unveiled to us in different methods that we just can't understand at the moment, but we'll find in the fullness of time. It's an exciting time. And I'm glad to be part of it, and I'm glad to be sort of learning and discovering everything. And there are things like people are dropping, tonight and other nights where I'm just going, wow, So yeah, it's a really exciting time to be part of this.
That's what I meant to ask Jazz. Remember, he said last week, he's like, I bet you a bottle of really good liquor that by the end of this week we're gonna have big drop. I was curious to know if this last week's drop. If that was he was talking about, or is there something else coming? Damn it. I meant to ask him that. Do you have any thoughts on what I just said, Graeme, before you go?
No, that was it. Basically, it was just a case of, it's an exciting time. There's things coming out all the time, and it's just one after another. It's wonderful.
You know what I would take? I bet, man, how great would it be if they unclassified the Blue Book reports from Argentina? That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be maybe a good sidestep for Susan Goff to consider,
like any other country.
Hey, or any other country where they've got these programs running, hey, by the way, we've had a Project Blue Book. I don't think anybody will be too pissed off by finding that out. And we're going to unclassify all of this stuff from Argentina because their airplanes and boats aren't quite as good as ours. And we can unclassify that stuff. But I think there would be good data in the last 20 years that maybe the Argentinian military has collected. I mean, why wouldn't they release that?
There's one thing, though. It'll be a cool day in hell before the UK do it, because we just, our lips are sealed, or at least the MODs are, so it's not coming out of here anytime soon. But Argentina or Peru, some other countries in South America who have, have a history of cooperation and all the rest of it. Yeah, sure. That's where it could come out of first. Wasn't the talk on Twitter about the dark horse that Tim McMillan was talking about, and everybody was thinking, is there a country going to come out with this information? And obviously that's not what happened, but it's interesting times.
Graeme, do you think Miraculous May is over, or do you think we got more stuff coming?
Oh, it's only the first couple of days of May. Come on, we've got weeks of it. Yeah,
right. Fingers crossed. we got almost 4 whole weeks. All right, Graeme, Rendall, please, before you go, tell everyone where they can find your articles and where they can find your stuff.
Oh, I've written for the Debrief, Shadows of Your Mind magazine. So you can find me there, and also UAP Media UK, who I'm a part of now, and on their website. I'm sure you've got the links down on your page there.
Indeed, we do.
So go and find me there, please.
Cool.
Thanks very much.
Yep. Thank you, Graeme. We'll see you soon, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
All
right.
I have to get going as well.
We were just about to talk about Paranormal Day.
Okay. 5 minutes.
All right. This is your thing, right? So, Cristina, it's National Paranormal Day.
Exciting.
All right. So, I know you're the most stoked out of the room for this. So tell us why. Well, what's going down this day? Because you kind of made me aware of it.
Yeah, so it's not coming out today, but
okay.
Pretty soon I'm starting a new show called Mysteries with a History Cafe, talking about everything that falls under the umbrella of the paranormal, such as strange disappearances, cryptid and UFO sightings, other dimensions, Skinwalker Ranch, and kind of things all under that nature about the paranormal, and bringing in experts on whatever topic we'll be speaking about that week, with co-hosts as well. And let me just say, I have so much planned. I'm so excited.
Good.
And even to talk about it right now, like, I'm sweating with excitement.
I can see it. You haven't been this excited on this show ever. She's glowing, guys.
It's the makeup.
So can you give us a little clue about maybe what the first episode is going to be about?
You have to stay tuned.
Ooh, and where do we have to stay tuned, Ms. Gomez?
On Twitter.
Okay, only Twitter.
Well, but also people that are already on Patreon will get first information for everyone else.
Oh, a little
so
incentive.
Michael,
a little incentive for the Patreon, everyone out there. Dad, are you on Christina's Patreon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice.
No, I'm on her. Did you say Patreon?
Yeah, her Patreon, Dad.
We're Twitter friends.
You follow her on Twitter.
I'm subscribed to her channel.
Okay. Yeah, we know. You're
I'm
subscribed
to
you're
everybody's channel.
We know,
UFO Dad has regular access to Cristina. He doesn't have special access.
He doesn't have special access. If you want early access, Pop, you got to get her on our Patreon.
Okay.
All right. Link is in the description below.
I got you. I know what Patreon is now.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Hey,
By the way, it's a way around YouTube, Odyssey, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Ryan, just by the way, that's my dad. That's UFO Dad.
How you doing, Brian?
Good, man. It's my honor to digitally meet you. I'm a big
You're
fan.
Awesome.
I'm a big fan.
The first time that you were on the show with him, I told him you got to bring that guy back because that guy is really, really good. He's got a lot of information I've never heard of.
Hell yeah.
But that's how it is. That's why we're here to get the information that we haven't heard of. I just made a few notes here about a couple things that I got to look into that I hadn't heard of before. So.
All right. Well, after Cristina goes, we'll listen to those notes and see what Dad's going to dig into. So, Cristina Gomez, is there anything you'd like to say on your way out?
I have finals,
if you
so
need
I
to
won't
leave
be on social media for a week.
Yeah, kill it. She'll
Good
kill
luck.
it. You'll do great. The beautiful thing about finals is it's almost summer.
Yeah, but I'm taking summer courses as well, so not really.
Of course you are.
Yeah,
of course you are. God, Cristina, go be a kid just for a summer. Just for a summer. Go climb a mountain or something.
I like what I do here with you guys.
I know you do. I know you're so good at it. No, actually, you know what? Stay there. Stay there because we
don't want to lose her to a mountain.
Wait, I don't want to lose you to a mountain.
What are you
That's something about? Yeah. Don't go mountain climbing. Don't leave your house.
Yeah, right.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to subscribe to your Patreon. Make sure you got plenty of ice cream coming your way. That way you don't leave the house.
We need her to graduate. We need her to graduate so that she can become part of the Invisible College. She's going to be our in. So
basically,
fingers crossed.
Basically. All right, Miss Gomez. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Right,
bye.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah. Fire away.
Since we've got Sprague, and this is something that I'm fascinated with because you know Project Blue Book, you know all of these, you know a lot of the things that have been going on in the government throughout, the last 80 or so years. I'm curious to what level. So we've got the potential for the 180-day report to be coming out. The media is calling it a bombshell report, and all of this. So my question to you is, knowing that somebody like Susan Goff, who is, quite brilliant when it comes to her ability to kind of throw people off the trail and disseminate the information that, that they want people to have when it comes to UAPs and UFOs. What possibility do you think that there could be mis or disinformation in this report?
Good question.
Yeah, that is really good. I mean, obviously, it's only my opinion. But
may I add real quick? Can you also maybe answer how much disinformation were in the previous reports from 2017, say, till now? To sort of compare it to. Because I can't think of any clear disinformation other than just the sheer either confusion or stupidity or plan of what's happening out of the office of Susan Goff. But Ryan, you probably have way more info or insight on something like that.
Well, I mean, all I can really say is I don't think it's so much disinformation as it is misorganization. Again, I really do. We talked about this the other day, Lou, that I think nobody has their story straight. I think at first they thought this whole UFO report thing would be one and done and, whatever. We'll just do a little bit of it, make the public happy, they'll move on. But like Elizondo has said, the movement, the UFO community, if you even want to call it that, has grown so much since 2017. I mean, you go to any UFO group on Twitter or Facebook, like even 4 years ago, and it was the same, like maybe 200-300 people talking. Mm-hmm. Now it's in the, I'm going to say upper thousands to 1 million people who are actively pursuing this topic every day and are communicating with members of the mainstream media. Like the dude I mentioned, Clayton Morris. He worked for Fox for a really long time, and he was the dude over at Fox before, the other guy who I won't name right now.
Right.
But
does his name rhyme with Schmucker Tarlson?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. No comment. Look, they're all bad. For anyone watching and listening, they're all bad, no matter what network. Yeah. But that being said, Clayton was one of the first to really fight to get mainstream fact-by-fact coverage on Fox News. And there's other people doing that. Look at Grady over at NBC. I mean, we're all corresponding with this guy almost on a daily basis now. That's very rare. That never happened
non-existent.
For maybe 15 to 20 years of my UFO research, I've never had this much access to the mainstream media, who have resources we don't have, which I think is important too.
Well, Gaddy Shaw was watching this show.
Schwartz.
Exactly.
Or Schwartz. I keep calling him Gaddy Shaw. Gaddy Schwartz was watching this show.
Yeah, his twin brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So I think, again, like Lou Elizondo has been saying, like, this is not a topic that ages like a fine wine. The more aged it gets, the more rotten it becomes for the people holding the keys and trying to keep the public out of it. So I really do think we're seeing, I guess I'll use the term, the house of cards falling. I really do. So nobody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Right. So you think because there are so many people demanding answers and there's such momentum and it's become a movement, and because there are so many people catching different branches of the government in missteps, that that they can't really get away with a mis or disinformation campaign?
I don't think they can. I'm going to be completely honest. I've said this before. I do not think they know what the hell's going on. I really don't. They can cover stuff up, but it doesn't mean they know what happened, especially when it comes to Roswell or these wreckage recoveries or even the study of these materials. They might have them and they might keep what they know from the public, but I don't think they know a hell of a lot. But they can control the information that gets out to us, which I think is more important for them.
Right.
Well, let me ask, man, I forgot my question. Shit. Well, I was good because I had two questions. The first was about Schmucker.
Schmucker.
Something I would like to see, and this is something I would like. Let me ask you this, Ryan. If Schmucker called you tomorrow and said, "Hey, come on the show and talk about it," would you?
Ooh.
I've been waiting for someone to ask me that because I
tell you what, I think I know of a great way to get on that show with making yourself feel a little bit better, and also pointing out that he's an asshole a little bit, but also having the conversation.
Yeah,
and that is, I would like to see anyone go on his show and just say right off the bat, "Thank you for inviting me on. Just want to let you know I know on a lot of issues we don't see eye to eye, but I'm glad we could come to the table on this one."
Yeah, that's the classiest
that's
way to go
where you
about it.
start the conversation.
He does not stop building bridges and mending fences.
Well, because the problem is right now is that people are going on his show because he's the only one interested on it.
Right.
But then again,
the conversation is important, man. If it's not out there in the media, the people that are not on YouTube and that are not reading about this stuff, they're never going to see it. But if it's in the media,
the problem is, Bob, is out of one 3 minutes on his show, he's talking about UFOs and UAPs in a very honest way, and then the very next second he's spouting about how he doesn't like transsexual men. Like it's
his
UFO
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
And he does, and he actually, I'll give him other things too. He does cover some things very well, but he brings a lot of his personal beliefs in the way he is. He's not a journalist. He's an opinion maker. He's
that is an opinion show. That is not.
It's not a news show. So that's
like
the thing that
earlier,
they don't present that part of it very well. So people think of it as news, but he does. From a foreign policy aspect, sometimes he does nail the right on the head. But from a domestic policy aspect, he is just god awful. And I think that's politics, man. You can find that with any politician.
Absolutely.
So that's what I keep pushing about this topic. This is the perfect topic to talk to those people those people, and come to the table on that, and then see where else you might line up, because I think there's a lot of, like Alejandro Rojas, for example. I'm just going to call him out. He does not like Joe Rogan because he thinks it's a very bro-y, almost leaning right-wing type show. But he's an influence setter. He's getting he went from not believing to believing. Like, that is a big swing.
Actually,
for
he went
that
from
guy.
Believing to not believing
to
believing.
To believing. Yes, yeah. I mean, he is flawed, but that's okay, because
okay. Bro,
this topic is. If you can't do that with this, then I'm sorry,
bro. I go through like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Welcome to ecology.
Yeah. No, it's true, and that's. I mean, look. To be honest, that makes me feel more comfortable that he's gone back and forth on it, because now you could actually say, well, he's like thinking about it. He's really putting some thought into it.
And I have to say, there is something, we talked about attention span, we talked about headlines, we talked about clickbait and all of these things. But I think it's also important to talk about when you have long form conversations like the one we're having now. It's so easy. You could literally go back and edit this and take plenty of things I said, you said, Ryan said, UFO Dad said, out of context, and then just blast those across the media. So nobody is safe when it comes to being misrepresented online. And I think that happens all the time. It happens to Joe Rogan. It happens to, all kinds of people. And I think that's worth mentioning and considering, because there are plenty of things that if you actually listen to the entire 3-hour conversation, you'll be like, oh, okay. They're talking through it.
Right.
Nobody's saying they know the actual answer. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of times where I've listened to an entire 2.5-hour episode of Joe, me and my wife, and she's like, that motherfucker.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, dude, he's gonna bring out. Here's the thing I loved about his show particularly. Like, he had Ted Nugent on, and I'm like, man, why is Joe Rogan talking to Ted Nugent? And then I listened to it. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it, to a point where I was like, actually, I think I kind of would like hanging out with Ted Nugent for a little bit, to a point where he's like, I think I might take up bow hunting, because he put a very good argument as to why that's a good thing to learn. And he connects it all the way down, and he's right. The earliest forms of meditation were man hunting. Like the concentration it takes to track an animal in the wild is a form of meditation. And when he laid that out, I was like, damn, dude, this guy is actually pretty cool. But I went into it going, oh, I know what I'm going to think about this person. And I walked out going, I had no clue about this person. And I love when that happens, and you got to be able to sort of take the good with it. There are things he said in that interview where I'm just like, okay, I think he's way off on that. But I was shocked with 80% of what he said. I was like, yeah, that's reasonable. And that's, it's just, you have to do your research.
Wow.
Like, on everything. Like, when I go over political presidential candidates, I'll go back to the gubernatorial debates when they were governor and watch their debates as a governor. And then I'll go watch, what they did as a state representative or wherever they came from. But it's like, when I first heard of Andrew Yang, I thought his ideas were absolutely nutball. And then I went and listened to 8 hours of Andrew Yang. I'm like, this guy is 30 years ahead of his time. And then here we are in 2021. It turns out he was actually right on time, like, especially when it comes to a lot of other things.
Who was the person who gave Yang a platform?
Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Right. So that's, it's a fine game we're playing here. It's a dance.
But the best point I think you make about this, Lou, is that human beings are 3-dimensional, right? We're not 2-dimensional sound bites. I can have a belief in the morning, and that belief can have changed by dinner time.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what's important to remember. We've got to stop holding people to these ridiculous supernatural standards that no human being can ever live up to. And I get it. When somebody has a platform and they're saying something that may disagree with the mainstream idea or directly counter things that could be good for society as a whole, it's easy to have a knee-jerk reaction and decide, F this person, deplatform them, be done with it. And right? There's this very weird balance between
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say he's almost the same thing as a Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was a social commentator. He's a satirist. So he's commenting on the joke that is our political system, and it's endless entertainment, and he's winning Emmys and all of these writing awards and accolades for doing it so well. But he's the exact same thing as Joe Rogan because people were watching him for the news.
Yeah.
He's not a newsman. He's a satire. He's doing satire. The satire is ringing incredibly true because it is, and that's where great comedy is in the truth. So it's just, you can't, and this is how he got Tucker Carlson pretty much fired. Like, this is how he ended Crossfire, that show on CNN, was you guys are holding me up to a standard that you should have, but the difference between my show and your show is that there's puppets making crank phone calls leading up into my show. So you cannot compare the two. It is idiotic. And it's the same thing with Rogan. Like, he's not a newsman. So if he's putting out, and God knows he's got thousands of episodes, so that's got to be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours of content. And you're going to take 2 hours out of the hundreds of thousands of hours and judge his entire career based off of that? Or 2 minutes, even worse. You know,
that's a
like,
good point. Yeah.
It's you got to understand who you're getting the data from. Like, if I'm sitting here telling you that, you know, A, B, C, and D are fact, you better check me because I'm a goddamn actor. I'm not a journalist. Right. You know, like, that's why I have Sprague on. That's why I have Jazz on. That's why I've got Michael on. So when I do go into that realm and I'm wrong, they can say, actually, Lou, backtrack that. And that's why I love these panels, because we can bounce this shit off each other and it's okay to be wrong and correct each other without getting pissed. You know?
Right. And I think it's important for people to remember when they're watching these shows, or even this show, like, please know that, you know, we are sharing a perspective, a viewpoint, and whatever I say right now, again, may not be the thing that I believe tomorrow based on new evidence. And we always talk about this when it comes to science, right? Like, and you hear all these people say, you know, we don't trust this science or we don't trust that science because the science changed. And the reason the science changed is because that's how science works.
It changes.
Right. That's the whole point. It's the whole point of science.
Otherwise, it'd be religion.
Right. Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly. I mean, dude, you absolutely nailed it, Michael.
Nailed it,
if science didn't change, it would be called Christianity, people. And we have that. We have it. So go. If that's what you want, go for it. But if you want to be able to change your mind and open your mind to new thoughts and ideas, then science is the way, dude. And sorry, Ryan, you were saying.
No, I mean, just to not contradict that, but I see a lot of mainstream science turning into religion lately, especially when you have people like Avi Loeb, who's, you know, opening up the conversation. And no matter what you think or believe or don't believe about his discovery with Oumuamua, the fact that mainstream science isn't even considering his theory or looking further into it, that's a problem.
They're coming down on him as if they were a religion.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, I don't know why. I got to actually talk to Avi Loeb on Martin Willis's show, and I'm like, dude, you are awesome, and I don't know why we don't have 10 more of you, and why science is so damn slow to catch up. Not to what you're saying is right, because I don't know. I'm not an astronomer, but at least you're having the conversation and you're putting it on the table.
Can I offer just a little bit of context there?
Yeah.
So I think it's academia. I don't think it's so. Science is a way of thinking, right? Science is
it's not tangible.
We're going to observe reality. Right. We are going to gather data. We are going to make a hypothesis, and we're going to test that hypothesis and have it peer reviewed. Academia, when you make a hypothesis that academia doesn't like or goes against mainstream academia, that's when they shut you down. So it's not that science is shutting science down. It's that academia in its mainstream momentum refuses to accept hypotheses that don't already coordinate with the mainstream
or it's not even so much that it goes against the books they're selling or the class they're teaching.
Yeah.
The first thing I think of is Egypt. The history on Egypt is so wrong. I cannot even believe that is being taught in universities right now. That pyramid, those structures are only 2,000 years old. It's absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And the fact that we still have archaeologists that are fighting that like hard, not a couple, a majority of them, because it goes against their belief system.
Yep.
That's where shit gets real dangerous. And it's money, man. You're right. It's all about them dollars. Like, I got a book about Egypt. I've got classes about Egypt. I'm getting paid as a professor and as a chair member of the archaeology department on Egypt. So I'm not going to change the narrative on Egypt because then I'm out of a job. It's like, no, pal. All you got to do is go back to Egypt, write another book, and just say, I got the first books wrong. Holy shit. Like, sell more books, dude. Like, what? I don't understand. I don't understand why people are so
like that. Clashes with religion.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And when that happens, especially when you're talking about Egypt, it's like blasphemy, and it gets crazy. Okay. And that is the whole UFO subject. People think that it's going to clash with religion. I don't think it clashes with religion at all. Personally, I don't. But a lot of people think, this is those are demons, and come on, dude, give me a break. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people think that if this subject or the Egypt subject or whatever, it's going to clash in such a way with religion that they are going to lose their followers. They're going to lose all of that. You know what I'm saying? So it's viewed as a threat. It's viewed as a threat. And that's huge. I mean, that you got to understand, that's huge in many places. Many places. It's huge.
I wonder if religion is starting to weaken its grip, though, on the world collective consciousness.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you brought that up, man. I mean, look at American Cosmic. That's exactly kind of the point that Anna Paselko was trying to make, is UFOs as a religion. And it is a clash of, I think, another belief system for a lot of people in this field that will often not inspire, but it will affect their judgment because of their beliefs. And I think I do feel, living in the age we do now, that look at the number of people who go to church. In any religion, it has just gone downhill so quickly because I think a lot of people have lost hope or lost faith, for a lot of different reasons. I won't go into those, but I do think, I think religion has definitely waned when it comes to this. And I think ufology is kind of one of those religions that the more science we bring into it, the less the religious aspect of its dogmatic belief systems will hopefully go away, because I think that's very dangerous for the topic.
Dude, thank you so much for saying that. What do you think of people, because I've had this feedback before, because people get annoyed that I'm generally agnostic when it comes to UFOs, because I have ideas and I have theories but I keep those to myself generally, because I also I'm very cynical. I'm very, scientifically minded, and I want to constantly be questioning my own beliefs and not have dogma myself. So what do you say to people who accuse you or accuse me or accuse Lou or UFO Dad of being UFO agnostic when it comes to saying this is what's happening? It is extraterrestrials. This is a foregone conclusion. We need to be done debating this and just pushing for disclosure. What do you say to those people?
I get ranting messages like that all the time, and the only thing I always respond with one word: false. That's it. I mean, that's all it comes down to. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. The government doesn't know that. The Vatican doesn't know that. The guy next to you, at work doesn't know that. None of us know what the hell this UFO thing is. I can't even pretend to have an idea of what it is. I've interviewed
the
thousands
Vatican,
of people at this point.
Right?
Like,
You've interviewed thousands of people, and you
still don't know what I believe. I made that point the other day. People ask me, like, how can you interview people about alien abductions and UFO sightings and not believe in a lot of this stuff? And I said, because I'm not in this for belief. I'm in it for facts. I'm in it to try to find answers. And it will probably contradict my personal beliefs. So I keep those as far away from my research as possible. And I think that's a healthy way to go about it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
The Vatican has had a huge interest in this
Absolutely.
subject. They have an observatory. They are investors in the infrared telescope in Arizona. They are the one in Kona and Haleakala. They're an investment in that. So they're investing in a lot of this stuff, and they have come out with things that are different from other times. Okay. And when you listen to them, it's like, what else do you have in there that we don't know about? Because if you want to go to a house of secrets, the Vatican is a big house of secrets. I've been in there. Oh,
absolutely.
And I'm telling you, the stuff that they have there, some of the stuff that they have there is Egyptian. It's not all Italian stuff like everybody believes. It's not.
Luke,
There's a lot of things in there.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you, since you've been there, do you feel that the reason they're so invested is because if something happens that we do discover that life, or possibly they have found something that, okay, they're the first to find it, got to now integrate it into Catholicism or Christianity?
They want to be the pioneers of enlightened information. You follow what I'm saying? They're playing the opposite role that they played when Galileo was there. They're playing an opposite role. But the funny thing about all of this, that if you ever look at Christianity, if you read a Bible, there's not a single mention of any religion by name in that book. Not one. Not one. The only people that are mentioned there are the Jews, and they're a people. They're not a religion. So there's no mention of religion. So in my view, and I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people when I say this, all religions to me are cults. It's mind control through guilt to keep you in check. That's what it is.
Definitely viable.
That's what it is.
It's hard to argue.
That's the way I see it.
You know what I'm saying? I can say this.
And even when you're talking about war, it's a dick thing. My God has the biggest dick. So what you got going on everywhere is a dick war. That's why I think that it's time to remove the testosterone and put some girls in there.
Absolutely, man.
Because when you go down there, it's worse than going inside a gay bathhouse. It's like, holy shit, that was nothing. This is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is.
Dad.
I mean, when you look at this from an external perspective, now that doesn't make.
God.
I'm not telling you that I'm an atheist, because I'm not an atheist. I'm not an atheist, but I sure as hell don't believe in religion. I don't believe in any of that.
Right, and that's how I feel about UFOs. And I feel like I feel like if you have an idea of what you think is going on, and it moves you and it's powerful, that's an individual thing, right? Like there's no way I can prove that to anyone else, nor should I be trying to. It's simply me having a belief, but I'm still going to be skeptical because I know that I have a human brain, and human brains tend to make errors so often when they have a vested interest in something being true. So if I'm not constantly being razor sharp with myself and being like, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? Then I'm giving way to the dogma that could lead me down a bad decision path. That's my position.
Do you know what I think? If the Vatican and the Pope are really serious about making Christianity hot again, open up those archives.
Oh, dude.
You open up those archives and you let people just pour through them. and now you're redefining Christianity. Like they would have to let go of all of the stigma and the taboo that comes with Christianity now, and all the rules and all the bullshit, and say, let's open up these archives. Let's let people look at them. Let's be more honest and open, and let's give them some answers. Because I guarantee you there are some really good hints, if not the answers, in some of those books that they have in their archive that they don't share with anyone.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I mean, UFO Dad, like, he nailed it. Like, he nailed it. It used to be the Catholic Church was, they were the ones who were pushing down science, and now they're the Catholic Church has openly admitted that evolution could vary. Like, they've openly said they're okay with the study of evolution because it's in God's plan now, right? And so it's amazing.
Why does it have to matter?
Well, they just moved the goal line. Yeah. And that's okay. Keep moving the goal line. That's fine. Move the goal line all you want. But what I'm saying is, if you want people to actually play the game at the goal line you're moving, you just open the doors, man. And Catholicism would be hotter than Bruno Mars if they did that.
Have you ever thought for a minute that today we have the technology to take an egg, fertilize it with a sperm, and if we wanted to, we could put it in a virgin, and that girl would have a baby? We have that technology.
It's a good point. I see where you're going.
We have it.
I'm like, got it.
We have it.
Right.
Why couldn't we put, I don't know, 50 of those fertilized eggs in there, get an AI to finish hatching them, because all it is keep it warm. AI feeds it. AI teaches it. And then one day they land on this rock somewhere. And there they are.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, we look at the miraculous birth of Christ as like kind of the beginning of everything in terms of, Christianity. But now we have the technology to reproduce that miracle, which is insane to think about that without, the way we usually procreate.
No, and it would be. I mean, like, I think we'll end it on this because we got a couple of announcements for the show, and we're running almost 2 hours. But I love that we still got a huge crowd in here. I'm loving this conversation. Sprague, you got to get your ass in here more.
How many people you got in there? I can't see anything.
Dad, your dad. That's not your job to know how many people are in here. Just chill out, man. It's all
I'm glad to know that.
Hey, people are here for UFO Dad.
I don't want to worry about the counts. Okay?
Yeah. Well, clearly you don't want to worry about the counts, Pop. That's why you're asking about them. Jesus. All right. So, damn, dude, killer conversation. So here's what I want to tell everybody. We're going to be taking calls here. I'm going to put the link in the chat. So you guys could call in. You can call in over a camera. You can talk to us face to face like we're in here now, or you can shut off the camera and use audio if you're camera shy. But I just put the link in the description. 2 rules. The first, be on a Wi-Fi connection if you can. And the second, don't be naked. Actually, 3 rules. And the third, lower the volume on your YouTube stream, so that way you don't get an echo when you call in. So we got the lines are open. So Michael, let's talk. I did. I dropped the link in the description, right? You see it? Yeah, it's in there. It's right here. So click that and you should be able to get in. Pretty simple. So Michael, let's talk a little bit about what's happening with the show. Right? Yeah, because we've got schedules, we've got times, we've got sign-up sheets if you guys want to be on the show or have us on your show. So there's a lot of things happening. And we've also got, by the way, this Wednesday, we're going to start our review of season 2 of the Skinwalker Ranch. So if you want in on that, Sprague, just pop in. We're going to be talking about Skinwalker, the first episode, all Wednesday night. So that'll be a blast. And we're working on getting Fugel maybe in for one of these reviews. That would be fun.
Nice.
So that's going to be Wednesday nights for the next 10 weeks. Right? Michael, do you want to, how do you want to do this? Do you want to say what we're doing or?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the biggest things that we've noticed over the past few weeks is that we keep getting information drops almost on a daily basis now. So we wanted to come to you guys on a daily basis, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes Saturdays. This weekend, we're doing a Mother's Day special where my mom and Luis's mom will be joining us. If Ryan could get his mom and he could join us too, that would be amazing.
Oh my God!
No pressure, Ryan.
That would be killer.
No pressure, Ryan.
It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have. Great! We got somebody in the chat, so we'll get to Carl here in a second. That's gonna be fun, dude. Like having moms on the show, and it's gonna be cool because I have no idea what my mother knows about UFOs. I'd say almost nothing. So that'll be fun to sort of.
My mom watches Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
She eats this shit up for breakfast. And she's a crazy Italian. She's a crazy Italian. The woman is wild.
UFO mom. Pretty soon they're gonna have Twitter accounts like UFO Dad. It's just, it's gonna be. Either a complete shit show or a really great success. Okay, so we got two people in the chat waiting. What other announcements do we have, Michael?
Yes. So I'm also launching my new show on my channel called The Singularity Lab, and not tomorrow, but Thursday. We're going to be taking this and we're going to be moving over to my channel to launch that. And the whole purpose of the Singularity Lab is to talk about breaking technology, how we're moving so quickly with the exponential growth of technology. We're going to be talking about everything under the sun, from AI, neural interfaces, VR, AR, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, CRISPR, robotics, drone tech, autonomous vehicles, quantum computing, 5G, cryptocurrency, blockchain, all the shit that is going to bring us into the next century, that is going to be evolving and shooting us into an extraordinary new future. We're going to be talking about all of it, breaking it down for you, breaking down the news and the explosive growth on a daily basis. So we're going to be doing that Tuesdays and Thursdays on my channel. We're going to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, sometimes Saturday. And this weekend, we'll be here on Sunday with the UFO moms.
And by the way, we're going to be doing, most of these shows will be starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern. Those will fluctuate an hour earlier or later, depending on what's going on with people's schedules. But that way, now you guys have a schedule. You know when we're going live. It's pretty much every day. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays here. Tuesdays, Thursdays on Mike's channel, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, like, we're going to have a blast. It's going to be the exact same thing as this, just Michael's going to be in charge and leading the way. So that'll be easy for me 2 days a week. So that's super exciting. We're also, this week we've got a special guest. We got two special guests. We're going to be talking about crypto art, cryptocurrencies, and ways to fund the show. Ways to make this a lot easier, especially for you guys out there, to not have to spend any money. I mean, obviously, we want you to spend as much money as you can on the show. I haven't seen one chat today, not one super chat. What's going on, people? Hit the super chat.
Well, I have to remind people that our goal is to keep Luis from working at Uber. And so if you want to see this every single day, we need to get that. We need to get that super chat going. So if you got it, great. If not, again, go ahead.
Yeah, or I was gonna say, if you don't want to do super chat, we've got the Patreon as well. And the Patreon, like I've told you guys before, there's no special access. You pay $0, you pay $500,000 a month if you got the guts. You get the same access as everyone else, which is awesome, because this show happens so fast. There's no way for it to get earlier access. You're getting a show every day, so we're not here to hide anything behind paywalls. Brian, I know you got your thing. This is not a knock on your channel. I hope nobody takes this as a knock on anybody's channel. But his show's different. His show's it comes at you. It's recorded. It's edited. Ours is live, so it's just a different format. And so because it's that format, we're going to keep it as free and open as possible. But if you want to help, please do, because we need all the help we can. Eventually, I'd love to start paying Michael. I'd love to start paying all the guests on my show. Like, that would be killer, if we can all do this and help each other and lift each other. Because I'm telling you right now, again, ABC, CBS, Fox, none of these big conglomerates know how to report on this. We do. because we've got the information. We've got a Ryan Sprague. We've got a Jazz Shaw. We've got a Jeremy McGowan. We've got a Sean Cahill. All of these people that come on, Cristina Gomez, these people that come and add just wonderful context. There we go, Rather. Hitting it up with the dollar, baby. Yes. Yes, Rather. It's USD, baby. More Rather, please. Gets us hype around here. So with all of that said, I'm trying to think what else do we have, Michael? Did we get everything? We got everything. We told you guys everything. So if you want to be on this show, if you're a researcher, you're a journalist, you got a crazy story, check out my Linktree. You can book a date on the show. They're in 3-hour blocks and on the days that we go live. So with all of that out of the way, Michael, you got one more thing?
One more thing. So we're also looking for more guests. So we're going to have the same guests on the Singularity Lab that we have here, but we also are looking for more guests. So Seth Kuchar, I made a note of that. You guys can make sure you follow me at Calamity Mike. Send me a DM if you have somebody that you think would be great for the Singularity Lab and what we talked about. Hit me up. That would be fantastic. And if you can actually follow my Linktree right now, the old show is called Cocktails and Calamity. That's going to be the Singularity Lab. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe so you'll get and hit the bell so you know when we go live.
Yep. Subscribe, ring the bell, share. And also check out Sprague's stuff. UFO Dad is at UFO Twitter. UFO underscore Dad.
Is Sprague in the link? Is his Linktree in the description?
Do you have a Linktree, Sprague?
Yeah. Just go to my Instagram. Whoever.
Okay.
Type in Ryan Sprague. I'll pop up. But thank you.
I'll do that. I'm gonna. Yeah.
Gentlemen,
go for
I do have to. I have to bow out, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah.
But I know you got people waiting in the chat, so that'll be good.
Do. Yeah.
But no, thank you for having me. This was
thanks
awesome.
For being here.
Again,
thanks for being here. Anytime, Sprague.
Thank you. Yeah.
We got nothing but love for you, man. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, my man.
PA guy.
Everyone, go follow these guys. Go to their Patreons because I'm a super fan of everyone on this chat right now. So, there you go.
What?
The Crusher 66
crushed
has come through.
Is
this a question for Sprague or who? No, Sprague's
my earlier
comment.
Go. Yeah, Sprague's got to go. All right, buddy, dude, we love you, man.
Okay, guys.
Anytime.
I love you too, guys. Yep, keep looking up.
All right,
bye.
So, okay, where's your comment?
Crusher.
Okay, look, let's. Okay, we'll check out the Crusher. Do me a favor, just copy and paste it. I swear to God, we'll read it. Let's bring in Carl because he's been waiting in here for a little bit. Carl, thank you for coming aboard, getting weird on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. This is an awesome show. I'm excited about this.
Carl, you have
nervous?
I don't know. Well, don't be nervous. Yeah, you have a show.
Setup.
He has a show. Tell us about your show. Where can people find your stuff?
Well, I just started on a channel called Carl Vibe, this one that I'm on right now. I've been doing YouTube since like 2009, just doing family entertainment stuff like forever. I've been doing it full time actually for like the last 5 years, just doing YouTube. But this is like my real passion, the UFO, UAP phenomenon, the whole mystery with it. I love what UFO Dad was saying about it, like how it is integrated with all the religious experiences and accounts, and I kind of approach it all from a mystical perspective.
Right.
Because I do on another channel called Soul Reach. I actually write and record like meditations and stuff. And
you're burning incense right now, my dude.
I look at
you're
this guy's on fire.
Pyramid.
I love it. I love it, dude.
And all kinds of
dude, you gotta. Hey, listen. Get on my Linktree because I've seen your channel. I've only got to watch because I've been slammed. So do me a favor when we're done here. Go to my Linktree, set an appointment. I think the calendar's wide open right now. So you're pretty much the first dude to hear about the schedule and what we're doing. So go for it, dude. Come on the show and we'll get you on here for a couple hours. But yeah, lay it on us, man. I do like your channel, but tell everybody where they can find it. What's the name of it?
So the channel is just Carl Vibe, and then the main big channel that we do as a family is called Carl and Ginger. That's mine and my wife's name. And then Soul Reach is the meditation channel where we write and record audio sound baths
You're
and meditations.
killing it.
That's just what I do. I'm all over the place.
I love it.
Are you spelling Carl with a C or a K?
With a C, and Ginger's with a J, actually, at the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? Yeah.
So, Carl,
if I could, real quick.
Yeah.
So, Carl posted today on Twitter. He said the hardest part of YouTube you have to get over is watching almost all of your friends and family share random videos every other day online, and it's never been any of your stuff.
Never your stuff.
No, of course not. It's too long. It's too.
I vibe
They're
with
embarrassed
so hard.
by their own product, you know. They're just embarrassed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel it, dude. I feel your pain, Carl. I feel your pain. That's why I'm bringing my mother on the show so I can force her to do it.
Yeah, you talk about your mom on there a lot. What's about that? Is she the basis of your UFO involvement? Does she have an encounter? Or you bounce off her?
No, never. As a matter of fact, I use my mother as a gauge to how interested the public is in this.
Like
because when she emails me or texts me the pyramids that Jeremy Corbell, exactly, that's exactly what she is. And so we're gonna bring her on, just to see what she does know, because it'll be fun. Because guess what? No other UFO channel on the history of the planet has ever brought their mothers onto the show to talk about the topic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
See, that's how I got into it. My dad was in the army over in Germany on the border right after the war, at the beginning of the Cold War. And he actually we didn't find this out until later, but he had cosmic clearance and would never talk about it. Never talk about his service over there in Germany. But he was way into the movie The Thing and The Day the Earth Stood Still. He was always talking about this topic, and it hooked me like as a kid. And I've been up like Bigfoot hunting in California and had an encounter. I've seen the phenomenon a few times and had some really strange experiences through like meditation, and certain types of approaches like that have actually sort of like triggered a sighting in the sky before. I don't know if it had anything to do with that.
Wow.
But I just wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah.
That was my big question. Was the UFO Dad is talking about like how religions try to dominate this topic and make it into all their angels and demons or whatever based on different contact that has happened historically with certain figures. And I just wondered like what you guys thought about that. That was kind of my big question, is like, if you were going to go try to make contact or approach the phenomenon, everybody tries to do it objectively through science. They want to do it, so they can capture it all. But really, it seems like whatever this phenomenon is, it understands the nature of reality and is using consciousness and telepathy and things more to do that cross over and lead into the spirituality and the mysticism. I just wanted to know what you guys think about
Carl, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that consciousness is something that you go get, or is something that you receive?
I don't even think that consciousness is local to the human body. I think it uses the brain and the system of the physiology of the body more like a receptacle or an antenna. And I kind of think like at Skinwalker Ranch and some of these hot spots, there's geological receptacles, like almost like a dish, or where the like a lot of the earth is made out of actual crystal, like quartz crystal under the ground, and different types of crystallized forms. And when you put those under pressure or smack them with a meteorite, or there's a certain type of ley line or geomagnetic feature to the earth, it might amplify your own personal antenna to make you perceive things outside of just the spectrum of the rainbow or the audio spectrum, where everything is frequency based, and all suddenly you can perceive these beings that kind of live outside our bandwidth and what we normally perceive. And when you step into these zones, or the earth turns, or the moon's in the right position, I don't know how to explain it, suddenly you can either perceive what's already there and what's going on, or it amplifies and allows these things to come through into the dimension, or they use those opportunities to come through or open portals or do things. And it's very interesting how that all works. So I think consciousness.
So you believe it comes to you?
I think individual consciousness is just inherent. I think you just are that you are, and you are a witness of everything going on in your life, but that's not necessarily tied to your body. And
I
think it uses your body like an antenna.
I think it comes to you. I don't think that you could actively chase it. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I think
you're talking about the phenomena as opposed to consciousness. Yeah.
Kind of both. I think.
Well, I was talking to UFO Dad because you were saying that, and then I thought we were talking about consciousness, but then UFO Dad mentioned so I wasn't sure which we were talking about.
Sure, I think the consciousness of the phenomenon is attracted to your consciousness in that same signal. But yeah, I want to hear what UFO Dad says. Sorry.
Yeah, I believe that consciousness is something that you receive, and your mind has to be in the right place to get it. I don't think it's something that you can chase. I don't think it's something that you can go and find. I think that it's something that if you're in the right frame of mind, I think it's something that finds you. That's the way that I see it.
So I have some thoughts here.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about string theory and quantum mechanics and relate it to what you're talking about. So if you think about string theory, the idea is that when different strings of reality, of energy, coalesce at a certain rate, then they literally create certain elements, molecules on that subatomic level. So if that is true, then there's a whole lot going on that we don't fully comprehend. And if consciousness is actually vibrating at a certain frequency, then it would make sense that there is a connection between the manifested reality and the consciousness that is experiencing the reality. Now, that's where I like to dig in, because these are things that I've been I love that you brought it up, because this is the shit that fascinates me, right? It's like, how do we bridge material physics with quantum physics and understand, and how do we use consciousness as a bridge in that gap? And I don't have any answers for you, but those are the questions that really perk my ears up.
No, there are studies on megahertz and vibrational energy out there. I'm trying to remember the one that I saw, but I just drew a blank on it. I'm going to try to find it. But there is studies on that at certain megahertz that your brain acts in a totally different way than at certain because sound is vibrational energy. So when we're talking about vibration, it's megahertz.
Yeah, everything is a vibrational energy. Yeah, I think it's your whole brain functioning and your conscious functioning and as who you think you are is a lot of electromagnetic waves and pulses and energy going on there, and the whole universe is really made of that. Really, the difference between like a beam of light and hearing sound is just how fast it's moving, right? And that accounts for everything in reality. I actually just uploaded a video about this that's like 30 minutes long on my channel last night, this whole topic. And I think all the ancient cultures are all about the sound and the resonance and the ringing bells and church bells to drive out the evil spirits or to attract them, for all of that. And really it's in order to understand outside our perspective of reality, because we can only see like the colors of the rainbow, and you can only hear a certain level of tonal frequency on the low end to the high end, and then after that your physical abilities sort of just drop off. But that doesn't mean that's all there is.
No,
it doesn't mean all those other dimensions don't exist.
Absolutely.
And when you go into altered states of consciousness, like you see in the CIA studies at Stanford University and stuff, you can kind of like transcend those barriers and make contact and such.
Well, if you listen to some of the Eastern religions, they're chanting some of the ways things are phonated, some of the Muslim prayers,
bells and stuff.
Yeah, and that stuff, when you listen to it, it kind of like catches you. You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of like it gets your attention for sure. Now, whether it catches you emotionally or whatever, I've never had that kind of reaction to anything like that, but it catches my attention. And I listen intently when I hear certain sounds. There are sounds that will attract, and there are sounds that will, make you go away from there.
Well,
so it's interesting though. It's fascinating.
Carl, we could talk about this for hours. So definitely come back to the show and let's get you on because I think you got some good perspectives. Also, I think you're on to something. Like I think you're really close to not to the phenomena, like what we're dealing with. That's my angle. Is I think you're close. I'm not gonna say you're right, but I think that's you're damn. You're damn.
Well, and you listen to this was a question that was asked to Lou Elizondo. We watched this clip the other day. Lou Elizondo was talking about this very specific thing about how we only have a certain range of abilities to see. The bandwidth that we're able to see. And so there, dark matter, dark energy, antimatter. I mean, there's so much within the realm of existence that we can't even perceive.
We need a pair of goggles.
If your minds aren't open, then
we need a pair of goggles that is able to look at this phenomenon, almost like night vision.
And maybe what it is these people that go into total isolation and monks that go to the top of the mountain alone and they cut themselves off from all those other distractions and they close their eyes, they meditate and they do the ritualistic sound stuff. And maybe it's just like chumming the water for sharks for these things to come, or it opens up into altered states of consciousness to be able to perceive these things or actually see what's going on and be approached by it.
Sound works for sharks too.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I'm not kidding you.
All right,
sharks, tuna, all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
we're running a little long, so I actually Lisa, for our next guest, actually popped out. I feel bad. If you're still in the chat, dude, you want to pop back in, we'll get your question in there. But Carl, we appreciate you stopping by, dude, and getting weird, introducing yourself. Definitely, like I said, make an appointment because we'd love to have you back and really explore this because I think it's important. It really, really is.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
And we can have that conversation here, and I think it's a fun conversation. So with that said, Mr. Carl, thank you so much for stopping by, dude. Appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Yes,
Great
sir.
conversation.
Yes, sir.
Great show.
Nice to meet you, Carl.
Okay, so so we lost one call. That's cool. We're kind of running up against the clock. My girlfriend's here. She's parked out front. So I gotta go move the bike for her so she can park. But what I wanted to do is,
in LA, I would
it's okay, Pop. All right, easy. Easy, man. Easy, cowboy. All right, so the Crusher 66 who dropped a $50 donation. Thank you so much for doing that. That was insane. And I think this is the question you want answered. I'm dying for you guys to ask Lou Elizondo what he might know about the objects seen in the videos from the tether incident from the 90s. Are you familiar with this, Mike?
I'm not familiar at all with this, but I actually copied and pasted this and put it in my notes just to make sure we did not lose this, so we could ask Lou next time he's on the show.
For sure. Okay, so we've got that written down. I will tell you, somebody did a pretty good scientific analysis of this video, and I think those pulsing lights are something that's going on in the camera system. And it's giving you this illusion as if these things are floating in front of and behind this tether. If you notice that all of the shapes in this video are all the same. They're all look almost exactly identical, which is, I think that was the hype. It's been a while since I've seen this, so I'm definitely getting parts of this wrong. But that was sort of the hypothesis that it's got a lens shape to it, and you could go to each one of those objects and literally paste them on top of each other, and they're just different sizes. I don't know the optics behind it, but that was one of the theories proposed as to what those objects were. But it is a fascinating video. I'm not sure if it's one that people have really dived in on and really analyzed as best as they could, because I think the guy that was pushing it was a little bit almost like in the Stephen Greer kind of realm, where he was saying crazy things along with this NASA video, and I think it just got lost in the craziness. And
why do they call it tether?
It was a space tether. They were tethering something, and they lost the tether got snapped off the shuttle, and it was floating. And when it started unraveling, it was like a 2-mile tether. It was enormous. Yeah. So they were filming this tether, and they found these objects floating behind and in front. It looked insane. So it's a cool video. Maybe we'll check it out next time we have a show tomorrow.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, check it out. It's pretty wild. But thank you for asking the question, Crusher. We will definitely run it by Elizondo, especially if you're dropping $50 for a donation. Like, yeah, we'll run that one by Elizondo next time he's on the show. So I want to thank everybody who stopped by. Michael, thank you as always. UFO Dad. Dad, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yep. On the web since 1995, BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle. I am the owner. My name is Lewis, and I'm here to serve you.
Full disclosure.
Awesome.
Full disclosure.
Awesome. So Dad finally got the advertisement right. I love it.
And the microphone's working.
Yeah, and the microphone.
I don't know what the hell happened to that.
That's okay.
Something shut off and shut on, but whatever, it's working.
It's working. It's all good.
It's all good.
All right, Dad. Well, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us,
Michael.
Great to see you, UFO Dad.
See you guys.
We'll see you soon, Dad. I love you.
All right, I love you guys too.
Bye.
Love you, man.
Bye.
Dude, your dad is the coolest.
He's cool. He's such a goofball.
How does he just capture everyone's attention?
He's a smart dude.
He's a smart dude.
I mean, you know, he's the reason why I'm a little bit of an analytical mind that I am.
He's a rad dad.
He's a rad dad. UFO's a rad dad. Dad is rad. Rather, thank you so much for the donation, the $1 donation. You guys are killing it with these donos and the super chats. Amazing. If you don't have enough money for super chats, don't sweat it. I still love you. Stick around. If you do, by the way, $50 dono, the Crusher. You might have the guts. Check out the Patreon. You might have the guts, and if you don't, there might be other tiers that you feel more comfortable with. Let me know. I can't wait for you to check it out because that's an awesome donation. Michael, before you go, you have anything else to add to this fun day?
What a blast! Again, hit me up on Twitter at Calamity Mike, and we'll see you tomorrow, right here.
Right here, 4:00. 4:00, same time as today. And tomorrow, I don't know what we got lined up for tomorrow because we don't know what's happened yet. We just don't know. So we'll talk about something. And I'm sure we'll have friends stop by, and I'm sure there'll be interesting conversations happening because this is a cool topic to talk about every single day. So that's it, Mikey. That's all you got?
That's all I got.
All right, my dude. Well, until tomorrow.
Till tomorrow.
Yep, I'll see you. Later, bro. All right, you guys. So that's the show. I just want to say thank you to everybody before I leave. Rodrigo, Internet UFO Database. Rick Carlson, thank you guys for being here. Zeno, your Patreon, thank you so much for signing up for the Patreon. XUAP, Lee. And I'm so sorry to Lucifer. Dude, we'll get you in the chat the next time. I'm sorry you waited in there a little bit. You probably had to go do something because, you're a human and you've got things to do. But I'm glad that you called in. Don't hesitate next time. I promise next time I'll put you first up. I want to thank everybody for the amazing questions, for stopping by. Audrey, Seth, you guys are all amazing. Lee, I just want to make sure I shout everybody out before we close the show today. I'll definitely I'll leave the music playing for you guys. And yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions as the music's playing. I'm going to go move the car for my girlfriend so she can park, and she's got stuff to do. So, yeah, until next time, you guys, thank you so much for coming aboard, getting weird with me here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs and UAPs. Again, my name's Luis Jimenez. Until next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Peace. Oh, wait. Hold on a second. I can't say peace yet. There we go. I got to share the screen. There we go. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Whoa, sorry guys. Got back late. The music stopped. I don't know how many are in here. 28. Wow. There's still 28 of you guys in here. Do you want to hear more music? Chad, thank you for the $2 dono, man. Appreciate it. Dude, you guys are killer. Let me play one more jam, and then we're out of here for the day. Appreciate all of you guys. Cannot appreciate you enough. Let me go to my iTunes so you guys can get down with some more DOS tapes. There we see. Here we go. Let's play this one. I love this jam. There we go. Chad, dude, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it, my man. Thank you for the $2 dono. So cool. Rex, glad you made it. We had a killer show. Go back and watch it. We had Ryan Sprague, Michael Mataluni, UFO Dad, Cristina Gomez. We had guests calling the show. We had Graeme Rendall. Talked about Harry Reid. It was an awesome show. So I'm going to leave you here. We're going to listen to this jam, and then we're done for the night. Thank you guys again for coming by, getting weird. Thank you so much for loving the show. I feel the love. I'm telling you. I feel the love from you guys. So I could not be more proud of this show. So we'll see you tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Be there, be square. Peace. Don't you love it when your girlfriend comes home with donuts that work made her take home? It's not sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, but hey, Dunkin', if you need a UAP show, you know who to sponsor.